Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Chakra Way Meditation Podcast. I'm Roseanne, and today I've got a lovely new guest for you. Today I'm talking to Zoa Connor, and Zoa is a functional wellness guide, but that's not all that she does. Zoa has a PhD in physics, which gets me quite excited because everyone who listens know how deeply into quantum physics I am. But Zoe is also a yoga teacher, a Pilates teacher. And one of the things that we're going to delve deep into today, which is one of my favorite topics, is retreats. And we haven't talked about retreats on this podcast before. So I'm really excited to go there. So, Zoe, welcome and thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm sure it'll be a great conversation.
You are very, 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 very welcome. So let's get into this. We're going to talk about, ostensibly, we're talking about self-care. And this is one of the sort of the looking at your website, doing my research about you, looking at everything you do, you provide a huge and beautiful wealth of self-care tools, resources in your studio, in your work. Self-care and wellness is everything that you are about. Am I right?
Absolutely. And there's so many aspects to it. I kind of hate to leave anything behind.
I know. Why would you? And you've got so many gorgeous things to offer. So tell me a little bit about your journey as to how you got to be from a PhD in physics to being a yoga teacher. Talk to me about that journey.
We can totally blame my children for that. So,
Okay.
well, I mean, yes and no. So you know, left high school early, went to a fancy university, got a fancy fellowship to go to graduate school, got another fancy postdoctoral fellowship, which landed me in a place where I realized that everyone around me has no life beyond their job.
Right.
So I decided to rebel by having a child.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get to rebel as a teenager, so I thought I would rebel as a 20 something year old, and had my son. And then, my fellowship was up. I was a university professor for a little bit, and I realized that they also wanted me to have no life beyond work, which was
Mm-hmm.
not really going to work for me. So I decided I was going to stay home. My husband gave me a year. He was like, you'll have this out of your blood in a year. And I have never returned to full-time work for someone else. I did my Earth Mother phase, permaculture garden, make all the food from scratch, take care of my children, make the world a better place, all these wonderful things. And then when I had my second child, my daughter was about 4, I said, you know what? I need to go back into some regular movement. I was a ballet dancer when I was younger
Right.
and danced all the way through college, and then stopped that when I was working on my PhD in physics because, there was a time issue. I had a lot of things
Yeah.
to do. So when I returned to ballet, it felt wrong in my body because it didn't feel
Mm-hmm.
the same as it was when I was 20. Imagine that, right?
Imagine. What a shocker.
And
Yeah.
so, yeah, exactly. So that's how I found yoga.
Right.
I had never done yoga before. It seemed like it was a good whole body movement practice. And then, of course, like most Westerners, I got into it for the exercise and movement component, and then developed the love for all the other things that yoga brings into your life.
Yeah.
Right. And then I was asked to step in and fill in for an injured teacher one day, like on the spur of the moment. And the only weird thing was, you have to move your right arm, but say left because you're mirror
Yeah.
imaging.
Yes.
But otherwise, it was pretty good. But my math brain could do that without a problem.
Yeah.
And then that led me to Pilates and becoming a teacher. And then the world crashed around me, and my daughter got sick and injured. So that's where all the wellness and self care came into play because that was a huge need that needed
Mm,
to be focused on in order to help her heal and me as part of that.
mm,
Right.
yeah.
She was We were dealing with mold, chronic mold illness that we didn't know about until she broke
Ah,
her ankle and couldn't recover from the ankle surgery. It was just too much going on inside of her. And that's how this whole journey started. And that was the same year that I opened my business.
right, right. Yeah, no, I have come across this issue with mold. It is a really pernicious and difficult thing to shift out of your body once it's there. But
It is. And mold down regulates every system of your body
mm,
and it hides. So you don't know there's a problem. Just everything starts to just not work quite as well.
mhm,
And with my daughter, it happened during her teenage years. And we all know that teenager time, that adolescence time, is a time of great changes.
yeah.
And recognizing positive, healthy changes from ones that are indicating illness and sickness is not as easy as you think it would be,
No, no, not
right?
at all, because teenagers go in every which way you could imagine in terms
And
of
they
their
and
behavior
if they
and
want to be introspective and hang out in their room and get lots of sleep, that's normal, right?
yeah,
But
yeah.
it's also what happens when you have mold illness.
Mm, mm.
So
Okay.
we
Wow.
found out when she broke her ankle and could not fully heal from all of that trauma. And that's kind of what started this self-care journey.
Right. Okay. I love this. It is a very organic journey, but it's like you've really followed your soul's purpose. Like you've followed, you could still be a fellow at a university teaching physics and doing research papers, but actually
I could,
you're you
yep.
could be if you'd taken that particular sliding door. It's always so fascinating to find out how people got to be where they are with this work, with this energy work. So you have a beautiful roster of lots of different self-care things, but what I want to talk to you today about is this part of self-care and having travel in that bracket. Now, I've led retreats, I've been on retreats. I love a retreat. There is nothing makes me happier than going on retreat. There's something about really remembering who you are. There's something about just removing yourself from your daily, the daily round of everything that you do. Um, that is just the most soothing to the soul. I absolutely love it. So when and how did you get into running retreats and what are your retreats all about? Because you can go on retreat for anything these days.
You can. Sometimes it's quite exotic in terms of the topic or the focus of the retreat.
Yeah.
So I came into this from two different aspects. One was, I have clients that consistently are with me. They take classes, they do nutrition, they do all kinds of things. And I noticed a pattern, which was that they were feeling pretty good, strong, healthy, all that wonderful stuff when they were home. They would go away on a trip and they'd come back sick and they'd come back sore and not in like a good way, but like a my body doesn't like this trip kind of way.
Yeah.
They'd come back needing to go away to a different place, right?
To
Or like
recover from
they would be delighted to come home. Like finally I get to come home. And I'm like, well, gee, why did you go
yeah.
if you got worse?
Yeah. No, the number of
That
times that
sounds
you hear people who go, I've been on holiday and I need another holiday to recover from that holiday. You
right.
know,
Yeah.
it's
And it's
stressful. It
one
can be
thing if
really,
it's, because, you take your three small children with you and, having like being in a different environment is then more work. That's one kind of stress. Like you kind of knew it was going to be that way when you signed up for it.
yeah.
But other times it's more like, the travel itself, the moving around was stressful. The fact that you had to have different food choices and you were eating out more than cooking at home, or like the noise, or
Hmm.
the EMF environment is different. There's lots of things which can make your travel suboptimal,
Hmm.
but then also great choices in the wellness department for making your trip arrangements can also support better wellness than at home. So that was one aspect. And the other one had to do with my daughter again. Um, the way that we discovered her chronic mold illness was through travel, actually, because we would leave the house to go pretty much anywhere. Anywhere felt better than home.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Now, we, of course, made it a routine at the time to do what she wanted because that was important. And what she wanted to do was to go to the mountain.
Hmm.
So we would go up in elevation where it was easier to breathe. It would be less pressure on her skin. So there was less pain in her body. And the green space of sitting under the trees and just looking through the forest, right? Of being able to stand on the top of a mountain and look far away gave a different perspective on life. You know, when you are stressed, you tend to focus on close up and things nearby.
Hmm.
And when you look far away, you can calm down.
Yeah.
So all of those things were like, well, gee, why do you feel better when you travel? Right. And that led us back to figuring out that there was an actual problem with our house being sick,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
But the idea that whatever is missing from your home environment can be supplemented with your travel experiences, right? So we know the beauty of green spaces and blue spaces and
Yeah.
different air quality. And, you know, your travel can bring all those things into your life in ways that make it so you don't actually have to change where you move, where you live. Like you don't need to move to a different place if you can travel there frequently enough, right?
Mm. Hmm.
My common example is if you live in a city where it's busy and noisy and there's always something going on and everything is close by, it's no wonder that your nervous system wants you to go out in nature,
Yeah.
right? It wants you to go someplace which is balancing you out. So that's where travel can come into play,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so my retreats for both group and my private on demand retreats are exactly that. They are trying to take you and put you in a place geographically, which is giving you what you're missing. And then while you're in that place and balanced and satisfying your body's needs, basic needs, then you have space to think about, okay, what do I need to change? What do I need to do at home so that I can feel better all the
Mm.
time,
Mm. Yeah.
right?
And presumably, the set it's not one size. This is definitely not a one size fits all because everybody's going to have a different requirement as to what they love to do. I mean, I know there are
Absolutely.
plenty of people who I know who love to go away on a holiday and take their bicycles and cycle for 40 miles a day, or they like to go skiing and throw themselves down a mountain in the freezing cold for a week.
That would
I
not be you,
personally.
I can tell.
No, you can you tell? Is it that obvious? Those are the kind of things that I would just like not enjoy. For example, last year, my husband and I went to Norway. Unbelievably beautiful, just
Mhm.
stunning. The vistas, the
And cold.
geography, and cold. Yeah, exactly, much
Yeah.
chillier. Um, but but I absolutely loved it because of the majesty, the hugeness of the awe-inspiring landscapes.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. However, there was one caveat. We were in a motorhome, which was it was a nice motorhome, but it wasn't the most comfortable. And for me, as the sort of homemakery typey sort of side of it, I was just cooking in a 6 inches square and everything on top of each other. That stressed me out. Plus all the map reading. So there was a part of that that really fed my soul, and a part of that that I couldn't wait to get away from. That was not the ideal holiday for me. I would have loved to have gone to just see the mountains and see the fjords and the
Exactly.
water.
And so
So it
that's why for my private retreats, we
has to
need to
be
have
right.
this conversation to
Yeah,
figure out, what do you need in order to make this work?
yeah,
Do you want to be the one cooking all of your food? In which case, then like you're going to need a decent kitchen,
yeah.
right? Do you just want someone to make you the perfect foods? In which case, then maybe what you need is a private chef,
Mhm.
right? or to be in a place where all of those foods are easily obtained in a stress-free environment from restaurants,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And so your group retreats, do you do yoga retreats or are they just overall kind of wellness retreats when you take a group away?
So at my physical studio, I have yoga, but I also have Pilates and fascial movement and all kinds of things. And so I encourage my clients to have a little bit of everything.
Yeah, it's
So
a
the
really
idea
great
of
idea.
having a yoga only retreat actually doesn't serve me very well for encouraging my clients to do that. Why would I take them and tell them one thing now and another thing later? That never
Yeah.
works with kids, right? It doesn't work for adults either.
Yeah.
So my wellness retreat that I'm taking ladies to this November in Iceland is about
Awesome.
cooling the chaos, right? We're going to
Okay.
Iceland in November. We're
That's
going to
going to
chill.
be, that is definitely going to be chilled. Yes.
Well, it's going to be chilled, but I've been there in November and it's not as cold as you think,
No, it was
right?
super cold like January, February, March, but November will still be lovely, actually. I
Yeah,
mean, everywhere in the Northern Hemisphere on the whole is lovely in November because it's
yeah,
autumnal, the colors are turning and it's stunning.
right.
But
So if I wanted to work with retreat with the idea of calming and cooling, and getting chill and getting calm, I wouldn't take them to Costa Rica,
no.
right?
Okay. No. Yeah.
Iceland. Iceland's
Yeah.
where we're going to go. And then we're also going to like rekindle your fire for life because,
There's
geothermal
plenty
heat.
of
We're going to get in the baths and there's the
yeah.
fire. And all you have to do is look outside and you are reminded that the fire is powerful, right?
Yeah.
The
That
volcanic place. Yeah.
Mother Earth shows her fiery
Yeah.
side in Iceland first for
Yeah. And it's
sure.
a
Yeah.
fabulous place for being focused on wellness, right? And you don't have to go to an ice cave or crawl all over a glacier with ice, you know, spikes on your shoes to get that experience.
Mm,
Just being there, right? The
yeah.
beauty of the nature, um, the opportunity to walk around the town,
Yeah.
right? In the cold, right?
Mm.
Who needs to have an ice bath if you can just go outside, right?
Yeah.
Because then you can get in the geothermal warm baths and restore and get warm again.
Mm. Yeah, that
So that's
sounds
the idea of the Iceland retreat, right?
mm,
But on a practical level, if you will be sad and cranky to be cold,
hmm.
then you should go to the next one, which is not going to be in Iceland, right?
Okay. Where do you know where it's going to be?
Oh, I'm thinking Italy.
Yeah, oh, I love
Yeah.
Italy. I mean, I'm running retreats in this November in Morocco. And it's interesting because like right now, Morocco is like a million degrees. It's so hot. It's Northern
Yes,
Africa.
it
It's
is.
very hot. But come November, it's just about right. It's perfect. You get the right amount. And for me, I love because you have this beautiful heat in the day, and then the sun goes down, and suddenly it's really quite chilly. And so you can wrap yourself in a soft jumper. They light the fire inside, and you can sit by the fire and hug it, get a bit
Hmm.
hugger-mugger. So for me, that perfect combination of being able to sit by the pool during the day, and then sit by a log fire and appreciate that warmth in the evening. But the
Yeah.
place where I go in Morocco is it's just so calm and so peaceful. And for me, one of the magical things about it is it's kind of up on a hill, and there's about three different Berber villages that are sort of you can see from the location, and of course they all have the mosques in them. So every sunrise, sundown, and the point in between, you have the call to prayer, which is so fervent and passionate and just uplifting. It's just that reminder of the passion of Allah Akbar. It's really, and a lot of people, yes, have difficult connotations with it, but Muslim religion on the whole is beautiful. And to see their passion and hear it, it's such a different sound and it's such a visceral, sort of passionate thing to hear three times a day. I just,
Well, I mean, when you can experience someone else's passion, this is a very good thing
yes,
because it
absolutely.
inspires your own.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So you're so right to find, and then there's the contrast between the very peaceful, calm, quiet hotel location, and
Mhm.
then, 40 minutes away, the souks of Marrakesh, which are utter chaos and in bedlam and full of fizzing with life and people and noise
Right.
and smells
Which means you
and
can go there if you want that stimulation, right?
exactly.
And you
Yeah,
want to be in that nervous system experience, right?
yeah, yeah.
But if you need the peace and the calm and the quiet because your normal day is super busy and crazy, then you skip that. You just
Mm,
stay where
yeah.
the quiet is,
Exactly. There's
right?
no pressure to do anything.
Yeah.
So when we're talking more in general about travel as self-care, I suppose are you just basically imploring people to really think about what it is that's their priority for themselves? Because I think so often, and last summer I was that, my husband's like, oh, I want to do it in a motorhome. I'm like, oh, okay. You put other people's needs in front of your own. Are you advocating? Because normally when we go on holiday, when we go, well, no, I'm going to keep that phrase. When you go on holiday, you tend to go with family, with friends. It's a sociable thing, and it's somewhat of a compromise. If, however, you go traveling, that's a different genre of travel in my eyes.
Right.
That's sometimes solo. It's very intentional. It's like I'm going traveling. I'm going to go around India for 3 weeks or something, or I'm going to,
Right. And
travel.
I think in the realm of wellness and self-care, the answer is yes and yes. So it doesn't matter whether we're talking about a few hours in the afternoon of going someplace, a tiny little excursion, or whether it's a day trip. I would say actually going on holiday with your family would be the most important time because it's so easy to take the back seat to everyone else's needs in order to keep peace. But you know that you're going to be a better peacekeeper if you feel good,
Yeah.
right? And I know that I would get teased a lot by some of my family members when we would travel. We would go see my mother or we would go over here and go to there. And there were certain foods that I always just took with me.
Mm,
And it was like, but I feel better when I have these and I don't know if I can get them over there.
hmm.
And we have space. It's not an issue. No one's having to give anything up in order for me to take these foods with me. So just let me do it. you
Mm,
know, like I don't want to feel bad for actively making sure I feel good,
yeah. Because
right?
what comes up for me when you talk about travel in relation to the chakras, it's very much root chakra stuff here. Now,
Yes.
everybody will have recognized at some point, and it doesn't happen every time, but sometimes you go somewhere and you're there for a couple of days and you blame the food or you blame the whatever, but for some reason you can't go to the bathroom and you're just like that's just not happening,
Mhm.
and you end up getting a little bit,
Because you don't feel safe,
exactly.
right?
So
And
how
that
do you,
digestive problem is a power and decision making problem, right?
yeah.
Your third chakra,
Hmm.
right?
Yep.
And you know that you can't get to that feeling of love or intuition or speaking your truth when you're busy focusing on your hips.
Yeah, and you're on survival mode. You're in like, am
Yeah,
I safe here? Is it okay to let
yeah,
go? Can I surrender? No, probably not
yeah,
until I've been here for a while and I know, which is
right.
why I understand. And I tend not to do this myself, but I do understand it when people go back to the same place. They have, one place that they love to go and they go back to the
Mhm.
same place every year. And I'm like, there are so many places in the world to go and explore. Why would you go to the same place? For exactly
Because it's
that
comfortable.
reason. Yeah.
It's because it's comfortable and it's easy and they can
Hmm.
actually relax. Now, why would they take their 16 family members there? I don't know. But because perhaps going to that same place makes it where they can do it with grace and ease,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Um, Yeah, and I've seen this with also the length of trips. You know,
Yeah.
travel could be an afternoon or it could be a week or a month, right? But if you're the kind of person who takes a while to settle in and feel safe and feel comfortable and feel oriented, you need a longer trip.
Mm, yeah.
Otherwise, you're still getting situated when it's time to leave and go to the next place or go home,
Yeah.
right? When people take these holidays or these vacations where they're doing, 7 cities in 7 days, oh
Yeah.
my gosh,
It's a lot. That is a lot. Yeah.
there's no calming down in that time. You're
There's no
always either
rest.
arriving or getting ready to leave or simulated, right?
Yep.
Um, you're the kind, if you're that kind of person who needs that time, then you need to have the first week to settle down and then 2 weeks more to enjoy the place.
Yeah. But and that's all very well. I mean, and in the UK and in Europe, on the whole, if you're a full-time employee somewhere, you on the whole, I think the minimum is something like, I think it's 28 days of holiday a year.
Right.
So that's four
Yep.
weeks of holidays. So people tend to take 2 weeks in the summer, a week, and then they'll take a couple of weeks, a week or a few days here, there, and they spread it out, give themselves a long weekend, whatever. In America, uh, correct me if I'm wrong, but the statutory kind of holiday is 2 weeks a year, and that's it, plus
Oh, if
holidays,
that.
which
Yeah,
is completely an anathema to being able to do exactly what you're recommending. So the
exactly.
majority of people can't, they have 2 weeks in the entire year, which kind of blows my mind because that feels inhuman that you have to be working for 50 weeks a year.
Well, I mean, it kind of is, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Um,
well, so
so how
that
do you
that
manage
makes
that?
it so much even more important
Yeah.
to focus on your home situation being ideal for your health self-care needs,
Mm,
right? And so when you have that limited time to leave and go someplace else, what I find is that when people take, a week or 2 weeks all at once, like once a year, here's my vacation for the year,
mm.
they're miserable for the other 50 weeks and they can't wait for the next vacation. That's not the kind of life I wish to lead.
No, I don't
I
wish that
would
for
rather
anybody.
I would rather feel like I have a tiny little vacation every day for a few hours,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So there's that
Exactly.
balance, right? And
Mm,
then that way, when you do take the time and go away, maybe you do better with a long weekend every month
mm.
so that there's always something to look forward to.
Yeah.
The beauty of travel and the way that our brains respond to it is that as soon as you plan the trip, decide the trip, start figuring out the details, you get those wonderful chemicals in your brain. Your trip starts at that moment.
Anticipation is
Yep.
everything. Yes.
Great dopamine. Thank you so much for the anticipation and the drive to keep going forward to make it on the trip.
Yeah.
And then oftentimes what I tell people is, how do you know how often you need to take a trip?
Mm.
Well, how long does the good vibe from your trip last when you go home,
Ooh, that's a good question.
right?
Yeah.
It's the
Yeah.
same kind of idea as when I work with a woman with their pelvic floor, right?
Mm,
We do work together in a session. How long does that last? How long can you feel lighter and lifted and stronger? If you can barely make it 10 minutes,
mm.
you need to do this multiple times a day,
Yeah.
right? If you can last for a couple of days, maybe you're good with twice a week, right?
Mm,
For
hmm.
travel, if you take a week-long trip and you can still feel energized and happy and look back and reflect that time and have it be a positive part of your life, and that lasts for a couple months,
Yeah.
great. Because then you start planning your next trip and you've got a couple months to work up to it and you take
Hmm.
the trip and a couple months to lead off of it. And that gives you your timing. If you can barely make it a week, you need something every weekend.
Yeah.
Some
Yeah.
things, some excursions, some
And I love
exit from
that.
your normal life,
Yeah. Yeah. I love
right?
that. And it's such an interesting
And
way
that's
to think
why
about that.
travel is a
Yeah.
part of self-care,
Yeah.
right? It's not just a vacation. It's not just, I want to go see this thing. It's like, no, this is giving me what I need to be a healthy, happy person in life.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I'm coming back to the retreats because we both run retreats, and I'm sure you've been on a number of retreats as well. And I feel like a retreat is like a holiday on steroids. It's because it's a complete reset. It's a very personal thing. It's something that you generally go with one friend or your partner or on your own. Quite often, people travel on their own to retreat because they know they're going to be with a group of like-minded people all doing an activity.
Mhm.
So, I don't know, from my perspective, I find retreats incredibly nourishing. Like going on a yoga retreat for me the benefits of that will last for about a year. I will still,
Oh, fabulous.
I like get so much out of it. Even like a weekend, I can take myself there, be there, I love it.
Mhm.
So when you're creating and curating your retreats, like in Iceland and then potentially in lovely warm Italy, what is your sort of intention around the retreat offering, I suppose?
So I see retreats that are kind of two different flavors. When I look
Mm,
out there at other retreats in the world,
yeah.
I see the kind of retreat which is a little bit more vacation oriented. You know, come to Bali, we'll do yoga every day. We'll eat this wonderful meal together. You'll have time to play on the beach. It's more about just kind of being there and being
Hmm.
with those people and doing that activity.
Hmm.
But then I see retreats as the transformational experience that makes you make big leaps forward in
Yes.
something,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And so that's the kind of retreats that I want to offer,
Yeah. Because
right?
it's interesting because I've been on retreats that are like the former. So a 2-week retreat to Kerala in India. So morning and afternoon yoga, space in between, do what you like, go and play on the beach. But I've had those and I go on my own and yes, you meet friends and you meet people who become friends and so on, and you spend time with other people. And ostensibly, yes, you're just pottering down to the shops to go and look at the dresses or go out for dinner or stuff. But I have had experiences during those type of retreats that have shifted my life hugely. Now, maybe that's
Absolutely.
just
But
me.
you created that shift for
It's
yourself
true. I
rather
did.
than having it curated
Yeah,
by the retreat organizers or the
true.
hosts
Mm,
or the plan for the retreat, right?
yeah, yeah.
And so that's why they can be transformative, but it's not designed in
To
there
be that. Yeah,
intentionally,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Which means that you could take two people, put them at the same retreat. One goes, yeah, I did some yoga and I took a long flight. And the other one goes, oh my God, this changed my life. I'm going back this whole new person,
Yes,
right?
exactly, exactly. I mean, on my
Right.
retreats in Morocco, what I tend to do is I invite people to find that option for themselves. I ask them at the beginning to really set intention and try and thread that through the entirety of their stay. And whether
Right.
they go with it and run with it, or they just want to lie by the pool and read a book, like I'm cool with either. But I'm there for
Right.
the
And
transformation.
everyone is unique. It kind of depends on what you want to offer. It also depends on what the people who you want to bring with you, right?
Yeah.
Your retreat participants, what do they want? What are they seeking, right?
Yeah,
Do they
that's so
want this
important.
curious, like, do they have this intense need to make this change and they need some help with it?
Hmm.
Or do they need more of an opportunity to be different? And then the change that they come home with is sometimes a surprise,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah. Uh,
So yeah,
One of the other things that I find not only for myself but also for participants. is when you go on a retreat, there's a level of authenticity that you can just fall into. I think, in our daily lives, and I think, again, it's the same when you go on a holiday or retreat, you are various things to different people. You're your employee, you're a mother, you're a child, you have to, a partner, a wife, whatever. You have to fulfill all these roles. When you step out into a different environment, you can become your more or most, with any luck, authentic self. And I think this is especially true when you go on a retreat where you just wave goodbye to everybody at home and go, I'll see you after the weekend or in a couple of weeks or in a week or however long the retreat is.
Right.
And you step into this new space, this new environment with new people and going, okay, so I can just please myself. I can just
I can
be
be
myself.
whoever I want to be. I can
Exactly.
try something new. It's the same kind
Yeah.
of thing as we tell our young people, right?
Yeah.
The transition from, you know, school to university or college,
Yes.
that is a time when you get to be around a whole new set of people who don't know anything about you and have no preconceived notions, which means that you can change who you are super easily.
Mm.
You
Yeah.
know,
Such a
your life
gift.
doesn't have to follow you, but
Yeah.
all very often after that point, your life follows you,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Everyone knows what you did before and what you did 20 years ago, right? It still
Mhm.
kind of lingers over you, kind of like a bad aftertaste, right?
Yes.
But going on retreat means that you get to be with a whole new set of people
Mm.
with a whole different focus from
Mm.
what you deal with all day long.
Yeah.
And there's there's no requirement that you stay in touch with those people. There's no requirement that you behave any particular way that like you have to at work or at home,
Mm. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And it's that ease of it's going, I'm actually just going to go and sit in my room and please myself. And it's for a busy mother or work, anyone who works, it's that sort of that is deep self-care, is just going, I'm just going to please myself. And it's something that we don't do enough. We just don't do enough
Absolutely.
of. Just going, oh, what is it that I want to do? Let me think about that because I haven't asked myself that for about 18 years. It's like, no,
Well,
seriously.
my very first private retreat client was someone who didn't even know how to answer those questions,
Yeah.
right? She had 3 days with me away from her family, all focused on self-care. And she was like, I don't know how to do this. How do I, like, I don't know what I want to eat because I'm used to making food for the family and
Yeah.
taking their preferences into account and trying to make something that everybody will eat. And she's like,
Yeah.
now it's just me. Like, is it even worth it? And I'm like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
You get to have all of your own attention. You just have never focused it there.
Mm.
You've always spread it out amongst the world,
Mm. Do you know,
right?
I've never heard of this personalized sort of retreat, like solo, just like going. I've never heard of anybody doing that before. I mean, what an incredible gift to give yourself to do that, to just be taken and to be looked after. I mean, honestly,
Well,
it's
I
what a
think about it
joy.
this way, right? If you're looking to create a transformation in yourself in some way, and for me, the transformations are all about your lifestyle. What should your lifestyle look like in order to
Mm.
optimize your health and wellness, right? Um, because, it's all too easy to find out about foods you should eat and diets you should follow and exercises you should do, but how do you know what's actually working and
Yeah.
what is just a waste of time and energy and money?
And also what is right for you, because
Right.
these things are not one size fits all by any
No, no,
shape,
no,
by
no.
any
And there's
stretch of
and
the
there's so many
imagination.
ideas out there
Yeah.
that it's hard to filter. So that's what
Mm.
my retreats focus on is creating those filters so that you can have the essential elements that you know are actually working for your unique body and mind and soul.
Mm,
So if you are in a place where you need that, why should you have to wait months and months to go on this group retreat to do that?
mm. Yeah.
Like the time is now. Like if you've decided that I'm going to do this, it's not about instant gratification. It's more like, no, like this is a strong need, right? And I see this all the time when I have a client who's feeling like they need some medical advice from a doctor, right? And
Hmm.
I always joke, you can call me doctor. I have a PhD. It's a totally appropriate social title, but I'm not your medical doctor, right?
Mm,
I am your girlfriend and wellness guide. So if they need to go to a doctor and they've done all the work to find the one they want to talk to that they think is going to help them the most, and their appointment is in 9 months because, it takes that long to get a first appointment. And I'm like, by 9 months, you could be a totally different person. The problem
yeah.
could be gone. The
Or it
problem
could have
could
got
be
worse.
solved. It could be worse. You could
Mm,
die. Who knows? Like, what's the point in waiting that long? So I
yeah.
don't want people who want this retreat experience with me to have to wait, which is why it
Nice.
can be on demand, right?
Extraordinary.
Let's figure out, where should you go? Should you come to me and be in my space with my people? Or should you go off to the mountains or the beach or the lake?
Yeah.
Because that's the place that's going to restore you.
Yeah. Amazing. So, as you're speaking, I'm feeling very grateful at the moment because I live near the beach and that's my happy place. That's my strength, my source of strength is I go to the
Yeah.
beach, I go and speak to the sea and the spirits of the sea. That's my kind of like, And
Yep.
this time of year when the weather's beautiful, you go to the beach, you can do a full day's work. You go to the beach at sort of 5:30, take your shoes off, have a swim, whatever. And and you're just like, oh my God, I feel like I'm on holiday. This is amazing. I feel like I'm on holiday and I'm 10 minutes from my house. I still, having lived here for
See,
20 years, I still feel
travel as
really,
a self-care tool.
yeah,
You
yeah,
traveled to the beach. It just didn't take very long.
exactly. Yeah. So I'm feeling very grateful. But what an extraordinary um this has really been really useful. I hope that everybody is really getting how important this is. It's about environment and it's about finding what works for you. And I'm presuming and hoping that the this aspect of finding what works for you is something that you then encourage your clients to kind of take home with you and go, actually, maybe I can take this shift and this kind of little.
Well, they take home a concrete plan,
Right. Yeah.
which is staged so they can actually create these changes at home, because otherwise it's a vacation, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Otherwise it's the kind of retreat which is the easier to organize one, right? Just
Mm.
come, I'll teach you a couple yoga classes, we'll have some meals, done, right? Figure it out on your own, right?
Yeah.
But if we're going to do all this work ahead of time and during the retreat to come up with what do you need to be doing, right? The details, then absolutely the whole point is that you take that home and
Mm.
you enact that and you feel the benefits, which is why any good transformative retreat comes with aftercare,
Yes. Yeah.
right?
Really
There has
important.
to be
Yeah.
some ongoing work to keep
Hmm.
things going. As much as I love to think that I have a magic wand, I don't, right?
Oh, yeah. We need to
Um,
keep
we
this.
can't
Yeah.
we can't make instantaneous changes in everything.
Mm.
Um, uh, some things it's obvious. When my uncle had his first baby, he said, "I know they said that having kids would change your life. I didn't know they meant that exact moment that everything would change,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
But it
So
did,
true.
and
Yeah.
it does, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But a retreat creates a change. It creates a start, a kickstart, right?
Yeah.
And it might be a big kickstart, it might be a small one, but it is momentum to go forward.
Yeah.
But that means you have to keep going forward,
Yes.
right?
So keeping
And
that
for some
momentum.
people,
Yeah.
that's easy, right?
Mm.
They're self starters. they're good with a list, and they have very little in the way of things holding them back once they
Yeah.
get home,
Yeah.
right?
But it's
But
very
the
easy
more
to sort of
things you
slip.
have at home, the
Hmm.
easier it is to slow down the forward progress.
Yeah.
So that's where I come in, and I keep the fire lit under your ass to keep you going forward.
Perfect. I love this.
Yeah.
So if I was in San Francisco and I decided I wanted you to take me on a retreat somewhere, do you travel? I mean, this must be your dream that you get to go. Do you?
Well, there's options, right?
Yeah.
If you were in San Francisco, you could come to me here in Maryland,
Yeah.
right? Which is very good for people who are very energetically oriented and need to be face to face, like 3 feet away from you, right? Um, and it's less about going to a beautiful place and more about that energetic connection,
Right.
right?
Yeah, with
Then
you.
there's the people who are a little more needing calm and quiet and peace, and a little more introverted, perhaps, where they're fine talking to me virtually or on the phone. They don't need to be in my physical presence, but
Hmm.
they do need to be in the mountains or
Yeah.
and at the beach, right? And so even on my private retreats, like we're only doing work for maybe 4 hours a day at most,
Hmm.
because otherwise there's no time to reflect and to
In
integrate.
integration.
and
Yeah.
and you've got, and on a practical level, this is supposed to be a time to make changes. You can't make changes if I've kept you busy all the time,
No, yeah, exactly. They need
right?
the spaciousness. Finding space is everything. It's finding space
Yeah,
in the head. That's probably why you needed to go in a retreat in the first place, because you have no space to actually think about what it
right,
is that you want in your life, let
right.
alone
And so
to just
the
look after
retreat
yourself.
creates
Yeah.
mental space.
Yeah.
Your location creates additional space,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And so then the third option is, of course, that you really want both of those, right?
Mm.
So then we could go together to some beautiful place,
Let's
right?
go. Where should we go? So tempting. Oh,
Yeah.
you made me so excited for my retreat, and you made me want to go on a retreat as well. Actually, you made me want to go on holiday. Hopefully you can't hear in the background, but I'm on a building site. My life is building sites, so getting away from it is like the dream right now. But
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, so maybe
Meditation can be helpful, but travel
yeah.
is even more.
Travel is even more, and it does give you that space to just get step out of that daily routine and give yourself the chance to remember how powerful your meditation practices, your
Yeah.
self-care, even self-care is things like reading a book. I don't know. For me, I never read a novel when I'm at home, but when I go away on holiday, I'll absorb novels.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's just one of those things that nurtures the soul. And there are some people who be listening to this going, "Oh my God, how can you not, read?" I read nonfiction. I read books to learn when I'm at home, but I
Right.
read
Because that's what
fiction.
fits in. Because fiction
Exactly.
takes you to another world,
Yes.
right?
And that's like a little mini vacation. Reading a book is
Yeah.
like a mini vacation sometimes. Yeah. Oh,
And I
Zoe, it's
also
been
think it's
fascinating. Come on.
I also
Sorry, go
think it's
on.
important to point out that sometimes when you feel like you're not progressing forward, it's not because you're not actually going forward, it's because there's more holding you back.
Mm.
So you've kept going, you've had the energy, you've had the motivation, you've done the things, but life has added challenge to you.
Yeah.
So you've maintained, right? And if life would take away some of that challenge, then you'd be moving forward,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But it's not a failure to maintain either,
No, no,
right?
it's not.
It's
Yeah.
just maybe not where you want to be.
Yeah. So I feel like I've only just scratched the surface with you. There are so many other things that I would love to talk to you about, but I've taken enough of your time. I'm so grateful for your time.
Then we'll
Thank
have to
you.
talk again.
I think we might have to.
Yeah,
Thank you so much for giving me your time today. I really, really appreciate it. It's been a fascinating, lovely, juicy talk. Really enjoyed. You've got me so excited and wanting to plan my next trip away as well, for sure.
Even better, even if it's
Yeah.
just that trip to the beach at 5:30.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's
So,
about 5:30 now, so off I go.
oh, well, there we go.
Okay, thank you so much, Zoa. It's been an absolute joy.
Thank you so much for having me. I love talking about self-care and travel.